Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for tuning in on this America's birthday. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Got a quick little tip, something that came up talking to a viewer that I wanted to kind of share. I think it'll be important for you to kind of put this down in your notebooks to remember for next year when we get to post-spawn kinds of things. Real important information. Hang on, we'll be back right after this. Let's have some fireworks. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. Real quick tip, wanted to share this. I was talking to a buddy of mine and somebody who watches the channel pretty frequently. We were kind of talking a couple of weeks ago about the fact that, yep, we were up fishing shallow and catching a lot of fish, you know, fishing docks and shallow kind of stuff, using a wacky rig and those kinds of things. But all the fish that he was catching on his Wednesday nighters and on his tournaments were just the, you know, 1.5 to 1.75 pound kind of fish, just your basic male kind of fish. After the spawn, you know, all the bigger fish had kind of left the shallow kind of water and didn't have any problems catching numbers, but just wasn't catching any bigger fish. Well, he goes back and just last weekend it's doing the same thing, but this time all of a sudden he's got a good one, you know, a 4.5, I think it was, and another decent one. And we started looking, and sure enough, what was going on? Well, it was the full moon right after the big spawn wave. Okay, so in other words, it was the first full moon after the major spawn had occurred. That isn't just a coincidence, guys. What that is a second wave of fish that have moved up to spawn. There is always more than one wave. And if you look at it, that full moon that came after the major spawn was the signal to, hey, you know, those of you who haven't spawned yet, move on up. All of a sudden, he's doing the same thing he was doing 2 or 3 weeks ago, where he was just catching, you know, regular kind of keeper-sized males. Now, all of a sudden, there's some bigger fish up there. Was enough to get him 5th place. Wasn't enough to get the win because there aren't that majority of big fish up there, but it was enough to all of a sudden, in addition to those keeper size fish that he had been catching, he was able to connect with a couple of the bigger fish. And again, guys, this is something that, you know, it's probably not going to come into play for most of you at this point because we're beyond the spawn and now we're beyond the full moon after the spawn. But it's something to keep in that memory bank for next year and things like that. When you get into the spawn and wow, they're done spawning, there's always going to be that second wave that comes out, and that full moon after that major spawn is really the time to pay attention to when that's going to be. Don't think that they're completely done. There's always a second wave. Now, do I feel like that's the best strategy at that point? No, not necessarily, because remember, we're talking about majority of fish. The majority of fish have spawned. They've gone deep. Start working on those deeper hangouts where a majority of the fish are. But I know, like a lot of you, sometimes you don't feel comfortable with those deeper water techniques, and heading to a pier, heading to the bank is what you feel more comfortable with. So at least take advantage of that full moon that happens after the spawn. It's a real quick tip, guys. I hope you enjoy your 4th of July. I also hope that you would subscribe to Mark Fisher Outdoors if you haven't done so already. We'll be back with another tip tomorrow. And guys, enjoy your holiday weekend. Be safe out there. Take care, everybody.